This is the HAN.Network, the leader in local news, sports, arts, and entertainment in southwestern Connecticut.
I was going to say good morning, but it's good early afternoon now that we switched the time to 12:30. Tuesdays live on HAN.Network. It's The Drive with Denise DiGrigoli, and I'm so happy to be back with the new time change. Everybody seems to like it because now they can tune in, maybe grab a lunch and be inspired. The Drive, for those of you tuning in for the first time, is about motivational, intelligent talk, all things, people, places, organizations that move you forward. It's about how you fuel your life through your mind, body, spirit efforts that ultimately create the lifestyle you live. So I guess it's choosing thoughts, choosing actions that ultimately fuel your life. Okay, enough on that. Was that a good infomercial, Kate? Oh. Good. I'm trying to learn as we go along here. Anyways, today, I don't know if some of you got my newsletter earlier this morning. We're going to be talking about unlocking your possibilities. And we're playing with the word unlock because when you're locked up, I will say your spine is your lifeline. When you're locked up, you don't create fluid flow in your life. And that's not only for your actual neuroskeletal muscular system that we're going to learn about today, but it prohibits you from moving forward in so many ways. And I couldn't think of a better person to invite on than my friend Dr. Bev Marr. Can I call you Dr. Bev or do I have to say Dr. Beverly?
Dr. Bev's fine.
Dr. Bev Marr is an incredible person. I've known her for many years through business groups. And then more recently, she's helped me get through some crazy stuff with my own back. But what I want Dr. Bev to tell us about today is a little bit about her lifestyle as I welcome her onto the drive, because you are ultimately one of the most driven, and I don't mean driven in a mad, crazy way, but a driven person. And I think you'll be so inspiring to our audience. Welcome, Dr. Bev.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure.
You're talking to the mic. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Before we get into the real reasons you're here, tell us about your background and where you come from.
Well, I grew up in New Hampshire, Bedford, New Hampshire. Great place to grow up out in the country, running through the woods with my brothers and sisters. There were 6 of us all together, so it was wild in my household. Absolutely crazy.
Close in age?
Yes, it was definitely an Irish Catholic family. Okay. Everyone's 2 years apart. Okay. Now the 3 girls live here in Connecticut, and Monroe, and Newtown.
Wow, close.
Right. So we see each other, and the kids kind of grew up together. And the brothers live in Spain, in Marbella, Spain.
Wow. We're going to have to figure out how that happened later.
Through business, but we see the family is close, and we see each other all the time. So it's great. I've been a chiropractor now for 21 years almost.
Wow.
And great career. Love it.
So tell us, before you were a chiropractor, because we're going to talk a lot about that, what were you doing? Because that's what I found really fascinating about you.
Well, I was an interior designer. Pretty much I did commercial interior design. It was great. It was in Boston area. And on the North Shore. I was in my 20s. Things were great, and loved that work. Kind of almost fell into that work, but had a knack for it. And the jobs were great, and the business grew, and I was successful, and
sounds like a pretty wonderful life.
It was a very perfect life. Pretty much. I wasn't particularly happy necessarily. I mean, really soul happy, but things were going along very well.
You were having a good time.
I was having a blast.
Okay.
Single in Boston. It was great.
Single, bilingual, and on the mingle, so to speak.
Oh, by golly, that's true. So it was really good.
That's good.
And I'm still see my friends from that era all the time. In fact, last weekend.
So you stay very connected.
Absolutely.
I think that's part of a good, healthy immune as well, right?
Yeah,
Long-time friendships.
Good pals.
Yeah.
So it's really great.
So how'd you get over to Connecticut?
Well, I met my first husband. It sounds so mysterious.
Yes. Days of Our Lives.
Days of Our Lives in 1985. We married in 1986.
So you knew?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
we did, and had a son in 1987. So boom, boom, boom.
Again.
Right, and within 2 years after being married, 2.5 years after being married, my husband was dead.
Ooh.
Yeah, he died of cancer. He was a young man, 35 years old.
Sad.
Yeah, it was pretty astonishing. And I decided at that point I really had to change my life. It was interesting because up to that point, being a designer and living in Boston, driving the right car and eating at the right restaurants, and everything was so groovy, I have to say. My biggest problem was, what do you mean it doesn't come in red? I need it in red. So, didn't really, life was good. Life was good. My husband went to visit his parents on Long Island and collapsed. I was 7 months pregnant at the time. And the doctor came in to speak with me with a social worker, which I thought was rather odd.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got the flags were flying.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And so he described that, that my husband was very ill and that, he had a serious condition. And I said, well, let's, we'll just fix him.
Right.
Right?
So you thought.
So I thought, just fix him.
Comes in red.
And he comes in red. He said, it's going to be very expensive, and I don't know if it's going to really do any good.
Wow.
And I said, I don't care. We'll just find the money and we'll cure him. He looked at me right in the face and said, I don't care if you have as much money as Ross Perot. This man is going to be dead in 6 months.
Wow, what a message to deliver.
Absolutely.
Woo.
Absolutely slapped me right across the face. It never occurred to me up to that point in my life that if you threw some money at it, the problem goes away.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that I really had a real dose of life.
And we live with that, particularly in our area, quite a bit, right? We throw money at it, it goes away.
Right.
And it absolutely comes in red if we say it does.
Right.
And so I'm so glad you're bringing this up because that really comes across here in the drive. We really want to give people not so much a reality check, but listen, we all have life problems, even though we live down here in Fairfield County.
Right.
And we get them. How do we deal with it? And how do we move through it? So how'd you move through it?
Well, we went through the whole grieving process. Actually, it did. He lasted for 2.5 years, and so there was a lot of. It was pretty crazy. I was absolutely terrified. I had this new baby, a very, very sick husband. I had a business to run.
So the interior design business was your business?
Was my business,
Got it.
Yeah. So after he passed away, I was extremely unhappy. I didn't really know what to do. What I did know, finally, is that money isn't going to solve this problem in my life.
Right.
So I had to get something else, and I did have to provide for my son.
And you had to be resourceful.
And I had to be resourceful. So I was in Florida with my son and my parents. They lived in Florida at the time. And I was sitting on the beach, absolutely freaking out, thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then it occurred to me, you know what? Of all the doctors that you've been to and seen and the experience that you've just had, why don't you revisit that idea of becoming a doctor? So, it gave me a little ray of hope right there. I remember it specifically.
So you took a little reflective time.
I did.
And by doing that, you kind of let everything relax. An idea came in,
Right.
and then you seized the moment.
I totally did.
I hope everybody that's listening, but Dr. Bev couldn't be on more point for our show. Go ahead, doctor.
What I did was I didn't have any idea of what kind of doctor I wanted to be. So I wrote as a very business person, I wrote out a list of criteria. And then I wrote out a list of questions that I was going to pose to other doctors that I knew. And I knew a ton of them. I had been a designer for quite a long time, so I had a lot of them as clients, and some were friends. And the questions had to do with, do you love what you do? Do you feel fulfilled with what you do? Would you encourage your children to follow in your footsteps?
Wow.
And overwhelmingly, of the 15 people approximately that I spoke to, 2 of which were chiropractors, the chiropractors were the happiest.
Really?
And they felt the most fulfilled. So I said, oh my God, I'm going to do that. That's exactly what I'm going to do.
What were their happy signs? Like, what was it that you thought they delivered as happiness?
Well, first of all, they were calm.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And they loved what they did. Not all the doctors loved what they did.
Okay.
All right. And they found challenges, etc. The doctors said to me, one of them said, I create miracles with my hands every single day. There's nothing like it. So I didn't really know what a chiropractor was. I knew it had something to do with bones. I'd never been to a chiropractor, but it was so appealing to me, I decided I was going to look into that.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did go back to school. I had to go to pre-med, and then...
So not to kind of divest a little bit here, but I also read that the number of medical hours required for a chiropractor can be more than an MD. Did I read that correctly?
Well, the basic schooling is all the same.
Right.
And then with an MD, you have residencies. With chiropractor, you don't really have to.
There was something that was quoting 4,200 hours versus 48. Okay.
Oh, gosh, it's been a long time since I've been in school. Okay. 20 years now. So I can't remember what it is. I did know that at one point.
Okay. So you go ahead and start to study. But that's a big chore with a business, a baby, and I'm sure that was a huge... So what was going on?
Well, as it turns out, my sister Shelley had been living in Stratford at the time in Connecticut, so we visited back and forth from the North Shore of Massachusetts to Stratford. And she had noticed in the newspaper, Bridgeport Post at the time, that the University of Bridgeport just opened a college of chiropractic. I was going to go to Iowa, wherever that is. I mean, we're from the East Coast, okay, so.
Yeah, Iowa, no. That doesn't ring a bell with me too well.
So I was so excited about that and applied and got an early acceptance, and then moved to Milford, lived at the beach.
Wow, with your baby?
With my son, who was then 4.
Wow.
4 years old, yeah.
So before we take a break, I want you to tell me what it took to find that kind of motivation if you were depressed or were you not depressed? I mean, that we just said that in all of probably 10 minutes, but that's a lot to do. You fell in love, you got married, you had a baby, and your husband died. And then all within 5 years, you decided that you were going to be a doctor. You kind of revisited that. Yeah. So do you have an internal drive? Have you always been this driven? What lights your fire? Is it because you grew up with 6 kids and you had to find your way?
Actually, that has a lot to do with it, with the family structure. I think reflecting on it now, it was fear-based, actually. Oh, my God, I have all this responsibility. How am I going to support this child, and how am I going to, go forward? I don't know that I was necessarily depressed. I was very, very sad.
Okay.
And so, it's so interesting because for 2 years probably, my family's shown me pictures of me and Ted, and we were at different events, and I have absolutely no recollection whatsoever of ever even being there.
Wow.
So I really lived in sort of a state of fog for about 2 years.
Ted being your son.
Ted being my son, yeah.
So you were in a fog.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you now are in chiropractic school, and I think we're going to take a quick break there, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about what it takes to put yourself through school at a different age.
Right.
And the neuroskeletal muscular system, which I think people don't understand how important it is connected to everything in your life.
Yes.
So we're going to be right back. I want to say folks, but that sounds like Bugs Bunny, doesn't it, Kate? We'll be right back, everybody. Give us about a minute. Thanks so much. It's The Drive with Denise DiGrigoli. Thanks.
When you experience a sports injury, you want to get better and fast. Coastal Ortho Express gives you direct access to orthopedic care quickly. Their physicians are fellowship trained in sports medicine at world-class universities and are also team doctors for area football teams. For specialized personal care of sports injuries, go to Coastal Ortho Express. Open Monday through Saturday in the iPark Building, 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or coastalorthoexpress.com. Coastal Orthopedics, keeping you on the move.
While the temperatures are cooling down, the fall bite is heating up. Albies, bonita, blackfish, alligator blues, and stripers are following the large schools of bait that are abundant in the Long Island Sound. If you love the New England coast during autumn, this is the time to be on the water. The latest from Shimano, Quantum, Avet, Hoagie, Phase 2 and more are in stock and ready to go at the dock shop. And don't mind those fall breezes with jackets, hats, gloves, and fleece from Grundens and Stormer. The dock shop will keep you warm and dry. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, now in 2 locations, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
Tired of all the bull? Relax and enjoy the experience of buying a car at Pamby Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram. No bull allowed.
Fast right. Have no fear. HAN.Network's Fast Frights movie contest is here. Can your film make the cut? Submit your 3-minute scary movie today for a chance to win a DJI Phantom 3 drone, sponsored by Milford Photo. The only thing to fear is missing the deadline.
When you experience a sports
Welcome back,
injury,
friends. It's
you
The
want
Drive
to get
with
better
Denise DiGrigoli
fast.
and Dr. Beverly Marr. An incredible person, inspirational, and here to be a motivation for us all. So now we're talking about Dr. Bev transitioning her career, and you're in chiropractic school. Mm-hmm. You've relocated from Boston, and unfortunately your husband of a very few years has passed.
Right.
And you're finding motivation living with your sister, trying a whole new career that came to you on the beach.
That's correct.
Okay. That's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
How many years was that? In
5
school?
years, really, altogether, because I had to do pre-med.
Right.
I had no sciences at all. I was a math undergrad. And honestly, I remember the first chemistry class that I took in pre-med. I was absolutely terrified. And of course, there was a Doogie Howser in the class who was about 15 years old. I was terrified. And I thought, really, the periodic table had something to do with the phases of the moon. It was
and it
crazy.
wasn't the blood moon we just saw the other night.
No, it was so, oh my gosh. But thankfully, chemistry particularly is math-based, so it was very easy for me, actually. So I, went through pre-med, no problem. Went to school, and I didn't find it particularly difficult necessarily, but the volume of work was unbelievable.
Yeah, it is.
Unbelievable amount of work. I mean, you really have to put the time in. My son was little at the time, and so I didn't sleep a lot.
Yeah. I doubt you do now anyway, if the truth be told.
No, I still don't sleep very well.
You've got a lot on the go.
I do.
So you now, when did you meet your current husband and start your business, Stanford Healthcare Associates?
Yes. We met in school, actually. I was in my last year. He was in his first year coming in, and all of the graduating doctors take on the new incoming students, and I became his doctor, actually, his intern. So from the minute that we met, we were glued at the hip. It was great.
Great love story.
Yeah,
Great success story.
Yeah, I have a fantastic husband. He's a great guy. Love him.
And your practice is pretty fabulous. Not to give you a super huge plug, but it's pretty fabulous. So let's talk about, because again, in the newsletter I sent out, we talked about unlocking the possibilities and what strength training and body movement can mean. And I really, really want to spend time with the audience beyond your motivational story, explaining to them that your spine is your lifeline. What's that mean?
Well, from a strict chiropractic point of view, the brain is attached to the spinal cord.
Yeah.
The spinal cord is protected and encased by bone, which would be your spine. And out between every one of those vertebrae come spinal nerves. And those spinal nerves go to every cell, tissue, and organ in the body. It just doesn't go to your hands and your feet and making you move.
It's informing your body.
It's informing.
Constantly.
It's taking information from the body, interpreting it, and it's giving orders to the body. So your heart beats because you've seen something,
Right.
which goes into the brain.
Right.
Your eyeballs get larger,
Yeah.
which is automatic. Your breath gets either larger or shallower, and you're ready to go. That's all from the spine.
In the same way, the other day when someone pulled out in front of me and I had a knee-jerk reaction with my leg that had the surgery, and I felt my back tense up.
Right.
Not because I slammed on the brake and hurt my surgery foot, because I had a reaction.
Right.
And then I had neck pain,
Right.
which was really only caused by my nervous reaction.
Right.
Right? So then your body kind of has a memory and holds that.
Yeah.
And then what happens?
Most probably it was preparing your body, your sympathetic nervous system was preparing you for some emergency.
Yeah.
So we get tight and we're ready to go.
Right.
And so it's a protective mechanism. I mean, the body is meant to do that.
But do you
Okay.
believe that these incidences stay within the body if you don't address the spine and therefore create other issues?
Well, certainly if your spine is not functioning correctly, your nervous system or your muscles are too tight or whatever, any kind of situation like that is going to enhance that problem. So if you do have a weak neck and you get into a tense situation, of course your neck is going to hurt.
Right.
You're only as strong as your weakest link.
So how is the spine taking information in and putting it back out there and informing it? And to use your comment, you said something to me like, our bodies aren't meant to go to Stop and Shop. We're meant to be in constant motion.
Right.
We evolved from foraging for food.
Right.
Tell our audience about that, because I was really like, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well, we're very sedentary now. I mean, everything we can do with the press of a button, a phone call, or hop in your car, and so we're not required to do a lot of physical labor anymore.
Right.
Some segments, obviously, of our population, people that build stone walls, etc., they're really physical, but most of us really don't do that anymore.
Right.
And so, unfortunately, due to that, we all tend to get a little bigger.
Right.
And like seeks like. So if you don't move around too much, you don't really want to move around too much. And so it's sort of a vicious cycle in that regard. But really, the human body is meant to move. I mean, if you look at animals, I mean, we're an animal, of course, and so you look at deer in the woods or your pets, they're always moving. They're in a constant state of motion.
Right.
And we really were meant to do that as well.
So tell me the biggest type of ailments that you see coming into your office based on current contemporary lifestyle and what you can do to suggest people unlock their possibilities.
Right. I think that, chiropractors are really known for low back pain. And of course we have a lot of low back pain.
Right.
But within the last 10 years or so, particularly the phones, the cell phones, etc., we have what's called anterior head translation, so everybody's looking down.
What does that do to you?
Well, first of all, it raises your shoulders up, and it
Kinda
really
feel like mine are up.
and it really forces your neck into a looking down all the time. So and your muscles grow that way.
Are we going to evolve into like little giraffes?
Hopefully not. It wouldn't be little giraffes. It would be more like ostriches sticking their head in the sand, right? Exactly the opposite of that. So when you compress your spine, so you're looking down or your back is sort of down and you're in a flexed position, it does put pressure on the spinal nerves.
Yeah.
So the nerves, the information going to the nerves
Yes.
and coming from the nerves is not as accurate as it would be if pressure were off the nerves. And the pressure could be muscle.
Could it be
Muscle
true?
squeezing.
If you lived like this long enough, it could actually create depression because you're kind of cutting off the flow?
Well, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because if you do not have correct posture, particularly with older people and they're sitting a lot, and if they do not sit up straight, and you see many of them sort of hunched over,
With the big humpback.
right, they can't even really take a big breath. So if you can't really take a big breath, you're starving your brain of oxygen. So I'm wondering if geriatric dementia is really just oxygen
lack of oxygen.
deprivation to the brain. So one of the things that I really emphasize is we do need a full excursion of our lungs to take a big oxygenated breath.
Every day?
Oh, all the time. We should try to breathe like that. And that's not only oxygen in, it's also, everything out as well.
It's so funny you say that, because our yoga teacher said that on Sunday, like,
Yeah.
get that putrid air out from the bottom of
Right.
your lungs, breathe in, breathe out, and
Right.
how important that is. And it's true, we kind of forget about that, right? We live kind of deep, not deep breathing, shallow breathing.
No,
if
very
that.
shallow, very shallow. From basically from here up is what we're really breathing. And asthmatics, for an example, they have the inability to exhale fully. So CO2 has twice the affinity to the sticky part of our lung than oxygen does. So if you can't really let it out, you can't really let it in.
Wow.
So you're always suffering from oxygen deprivation, really. And
So-
it's the lifeblood.
We've got all types of audience, HAN.Network covers Fairfield County and parts of Westchester County, and I'm sure some people are saying, that's great, Dr. Bev, but I don't have time, energy, money, inclination, all the excuses we can give to get to the chiropractor or move our body. But I can tell you honestly, I wasn't very athletic until probably 5 years ago, and I could kind of pinpoint what turned on the switch for me, and it was something that I would never have expected to. So what can we tell our friends today, because we're going to talk about your fabulous ballroom dancing and Dancing with the Stars any minute now. Well, let's just say Dancing with the Stars wasn't the rage. What would you tell somebody that was really stuck and probably really needed help to kind of inch them out of where they're stuck from?
Well, if you feel lousy,
Yeah.
you're fatigued all the time, your
Right.
digestion isn't really good, you're more dependent on over-the-counter medication to even kind of exist, or prescription medication.
Worse.
You have to take a look at your life.
Right.
And it's not going to get any better.
Yeah.
It will only go one way, which will be worse,
Right.
if you don't change that. And everybody has the ability to change that. As far as motivating, how about feeling better?
Well, I tell people, if you have something that you want to do, let's write it down.
Right.
If you write it down in the similar way that you write down your grocery list or any goal, the chances are you'll bring yourself closer to it, because there's some weird brain-hand connection that says, I wrote it down, now it must be true. Right?
That's true.
And so that kind of moves you forward.
Right.
So talking about moving forward, when I met you many years ago,
Yes.
you were not a ballroom dancer. You were
I
a very
wasn't.
accomplished equestrian rider.
That's
And
correct.
that was blowing my mind back then. Because first of all, I'm allergic to horses, and
Yeah.
one of them stepped on my foot as a child, so let's not go there. But we know there's many wonderful equestrian places here in Connecticut.
Oh, yes, plenty.
But tell me how Dr. Bev becomes this incredible, and you can toot your own horn, you've won some awards, ballroom dancer, because it's a big thing right now.
Yeah, it is.
Was it because it was a fad?
No, well, actually, I have to say that, I've been riding since I was 6 and have been competing on and off since I was 6, and went from hunter jumper to jumpers to eventing, which is a 3-day eventing kind of thing, which is pretty scary. And I did give that up actually after my son was born, because it's just too darn dangerous. And then I happened to see a dressage rider, and basically this is a great big horse who's dancing. And I was so turned on to that. I said, I'll never jump again. I'm going to do that. So I went into dressage and was doing that. about 5 years ago, I happened to catch Dancing with the Stars. And I never really watch reality TV. And
Me either. I don't like it at all.
I don't really watch it, but I happened to see it. And I can't remember who the guest was. It was a guy, and he was starting to dance. And oh my gosh, I mean, he couldn't move at all. He was just like, oh, really, really horrible. And I've been watching movement. I'm a chiropractor, so that's what I do. And training horses, it's watching movement. So about 5 weeks later, I happened to catch the show again, and he was on it. And oh my gosh, all of a sudden, this guy who could barely ambulate looks like a dancer. I was like, this is impossible. As a chiropractor, this is impossible. I can't believe this. And so I watched the show a couple of times and then sort of got into it. And then they were talking about, lead, follow. And I thought, boy, that's just like riding.
So you made a connection.
I'm going to start to ballroom dance because I bet that would make me a better rider. And I did, and it did.
So it's the message I get there is follow the leads.
Right.
Be open.
Right.
Be open-minded to things that come to you.
Right.
And when this has been the resounding theme
Yes.
For weeks on end here at the show, be willing to try it.
Absolutely.
Be willing to try it.
Open it up a little bit.
Open it up a little bit. Okay, so now you're Dancing with the Stars. And I know you've had professional training.
I do. I have a professional partner now. He's absolutely fabulous. I'm so pleased to be dancing with him. I remember my first competition that I did with ballroom, when they called the heat number, and you're supposed to walk onto the floor with other dancers, and of course you have a panel of 5 or 6 judges. Take one look at that, absolutely shaking in my boots. My heart's pounding. I'm holding my breath. It was just...
And you did it anyway.
I did it anyway, and I remember standing there and saying, by God, you're alive.
Pinch yourself.
You're alive. Your heart is pounding, and you're shaking, and it excited me in that regard. Not to say, I was still afraid, of course, but what the heck,
Now, through all this dancing and horse riding, did you ever have a bad back or spinal issues?
I'm going to say that I kept myself in fairly, as a chiropractor, of course, my husband's a chiropractor, so I have, help there.
Help on demand.
Help on demand. But I've had a lot of injuries from crashing with the horses. And And, if you're an athlete, you're going to have these things. I mean, that's just the way that is. You're going to have Achilles tendinitis.
Well, thanks, Dr. Bev. That wasn't from cycling, though.
But, you do have these kinds of things happen, and it's just part of life. I mean, honestly, when you're 15, you get injured too. It's just that at 15, you recover a lot faster than you do when you're over 50.
So some of the standard questions, although I don't like any standard questions on my show at all, is now you're out in the public, and you're a pretty public person, as and people are probably saying to you what they say to me. My gosh, you do so many things. How do you do all those things? Are you sure you can do them all good? What makes you so? And so that's kind of what I call the naysayers, the people that are kind of swarming around with that sort of passive aggressive energy that if you were having a bad day could actually make you question yourself. So when you get one of those, how do you steer your energy?
I think that's...
Not that I've ever seen you in a bad mood, but I'm sure we're all human.
Oh, yeah, we're all human. And I think when you, particularly with business, or even, prior to competition with any competition with the horses or with the ballroom.
Very competitive.
Yeah, I always remind myself that no matter what, it always works out. It
so it's that simple
always
for you.
Works out.
It always works out.
I have a firm belief in that. And we're sitting here today, aren't we?
Yeah. And I have a firm belief it may not go the way I want it to go, but in the end, it'll work out, and I'll know the reason why it worked out that way, and I'll just be cool with it.
Yeah. Some people say to me, don't you ever slow down? And I sort of think, well, I don't need to slow down. I need to calm down.
Oh my gosh, Troy's probably listening to that going, yay, Dr. Bev, maybe she's picking up on this.
Right.
Well, I read something just today that said, work is stressful when we don't like what we do. Work, when we're doing what we like and we're really busy at it, we call it passion. You know, it's like I'm very passionate about all the things I do. Now, that doesn't mean I love every single task, but I love all the different things that I do. So I kind of make time. And I remember Dr. Phil Carlson, who used to write Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, would say the same thing. People that enjoy being busy aren't necessarily just busy being human doings. They like what they do, and I like that about you. It's like you do a lot of things, you try a lot of things, but you always have time for what's important.
Yes.
And it's very, very clear
Yes.
that you do that, and that you've been. The other thing that I really admire about you is that you're a businesswoman, and you have been for many years, juggling many, many balls in the air.
Right.
So that being said, how do you relax? How do you calm down?
I usually try to take one day a week and to really, really chill.
Is that today?
No. No. I have many tasks yet to do. Usually on Sundays. I really chill on
That's your off
Sundays.
day.
That's my off day. I try not to work. I can't say that I'm completely disengaged from all of my devices, but I really try to relax. The other thing that I do is I walk out in the woods, and Connecticut is just the most beautiful state in North America.
Rob might not
it's
agree
so
with that,
beautiful
though,
here.
from Mahopac, New York. He comes from pretty nice woods
Oh,
himself.
that's really nice up there, too.
Yeah.
And usually what I'll do is put my earbuds in. I have some music playing, and I go and walk through the woods. And it's so interesting, I have my dance music. So I take every step to the beat of the music, regardless of the terrain.
Ooh.
And occasionally
That wouldn't work for my Achilles right now, but I hear you.
Occasionally I'll get my samba music on, so I'm going through. So if I meet someone, they think, "Oh my God, this crazed one." So sometimes they'll say, "Dancing?" And I'm, "Yes." So it's good, yeah. And exercise really, really chills me.
Yeah.
So it centers me, and it calms me down. And part of that is taking big, deep breaths, being able to, have that oxygen exchange.
I also find that when I'm skiing or doing things like that where I have to stand upright, and I really have to pay attention, then my mind is clear because I'm only focusing on that and taking deep breaths. But the other thing that helps me calm down is I volunteer for different things. And I think by not always focusing on myself and my set of things that I'm doing or whatever I'm fixing within my family, I'm, paying it forward. And I'm also then seeing, I think it gives you a perspective. Your life isn't as benchmarked bad as you might see, feel that it is. So
I see that every day in practice, actually. I mean, not so much in Stamford, but we did have a practice in New Haven. And I must say, most days I said, thank God for where I am.
Right.
Because just one little click could have made it a lot different.
Oh, yeah.
So, there's a lot of people out there that really are, oh my gosh, they have so far less than what we do. And so,
So how has the attitude in contemporary living here in Fairfield County, and I guess New Haven County too, we'll talk about, changed towards chiropractic in general? For me, I feel like it's much more widely accepted, approved, acknowledged in the same way yoga is and acupuncture. But you tell me from a business owner's point of view.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of chiropractors. There, I think, are 85,000 in the United States.
Wow.
So that's a lot. There are, I think, something like 5 million adjustments that are given every day. So
I don't know if there's a good number.
That's a good number. I mean, the numbers just speak for themselves, honestly.
Right.
Chiropractic it's not a religion.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't need a set
Well,
of.
thank you for saying that. Yeah, it's not a religion.
It's you don't need a set of beliefs here.
Right.
Your body either works better or it doesn't. You either move better or you don't. You either stand taller or you don't. That's it. It's easy, easy, easy. With the Grand Prix horses and race horses, etc., they travel with their farrier, their chiropractor, and their veterinarian. Okay,
Wow.
And they either run faster and jump higher, or they don't. They're not, I'm not feeling really well today, so I don't really want to perform well. That's not the case with the horses. They either jump higher and run faster, or they don't. And they do, getting their spines adjusted. So there it is.
I remember years ago when I went to a chiropractor for the very first time. She told me that even often babies were adjusted,
Right.
and it would help their immune system.
Yeah.
And ward off colds and that kind of stuff. And I want you to talk a little bit about that, because I feel like a lot of people don't know that to be true.
I don't really do a pediatric practice, but I will say that, of course, that makes total and complete sense to me. With my new moms, with the babies that are kind of colicky, I show them a little method that they can do, but just by moving the baby's hips and their bellies around, that it really does ease that. There are some practices that just specialize in pediatrics. I'm not one of them.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, but it's really good. My son never had an antibiotic until he was 21 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and so...
You must have given him a couple of chiropractic adjustments.
Oh my gosh, yes, of course. And when he comes home, that's the first thing he's looking for. Of course, he was away at college, and his girlfriend, at the time he had a cold, so his girlfriend said, "Oh, you need to go and get antibiotics." So of course he did.
Yes.
And
We all follow what our significant others tell us to do.
That's right.
So to
called
speak.
me, "Mom, I took some antibiotics."
Certainly not
I'm
music
like,
to
okay,
you.
yeah, it's all right, it's okay, you'll get through it. You're going to survive that. So yeah, he's very healthy, and so I think, I get really worried with a lot of the medication and I mean, look at TV.
Yeah, I'm very much, I'm not a big medicine taker.
Yeah.
And I believe that the body heals itself.
Absolutely.
And so we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about posture and how spine alignment, well, I'm not going to talk about it, you are, and we're going to show our friends that a little bit of posture goes a long way in wellness.
Right.
Okay, thanks everybody. We're going to be back in a minute or two. It's The Drive with Denise DiGrigoli and our friend Dr. Beverly Marr. Thanks so much for being here. It's gone by really quickly. All right, we'll be right back.
Alliance. We are an industry leader in coordinating transportation for large events such as corporate road shows, conferences, and special events. Our team of experts understands the dynamics and logistics of high-pressure situations and complex arrangements, all within a rapidly changing environment. Since 1999, we have added charter jets, event management, and personal protection to our range of services. Mention this ad for $25 off your next round-trip reservation. Alliance and you. Together, we can achieve the extraordinary. 855-546-6996 or alliancelimo.com.
The fall bite is heating up. Albies, bonita, blackfish, alligator blues, and stripers are following the large schools of bait in the Long Island Sound. This is the time to visit the New England coast, and the Dock Shop can get you outfitted with the latest fishing gear, jackets, hats, gloves, and fleece. Boater, beach bum, fishermen simply love the New England coast. This is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, now in 2 locations, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
Kycote Rockefeller Estate is Westchester County's top cultural attraction and is now open for the season. Don't miss out. Go online to hudsonvalley.org to plan your visit. Take a drive out to beautiful Sleepy Hollow, New York, and enjoy Kycote's stunning architecture, breathtaking gardens, expansive art galleries, and commanding Hudson River views. From world-class art by Picasso and Warhol to expertly tended gardens, there's something for everyone. Kycote Rockefeller Estate, a National Trust for Historic Preservation landmark. Back to school means back to busy, and Stewart's Market can save you precious time by stocking all of your favorite essentials under one roof. For a healthy start to school, we have all the ingredients. Walter Stewart's, your family-owned fresh local market, 229 Elm Street and at stewartsmarket.com.
It's time to come back to hometown banking, where people are taken into account, not just balances. Where community comes first. A place where there's more than one kind of interest. Where automation will never replace consideration. Where they not only know your name, they know your dog's name too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well. Bank smart. Bank local. Bank well.
When you experience a sports injury, you want to get better and fast. Coastal Ortho Express gives you direct access to orthopedic care quickly. Their physicians are fellowship trained in sports medicine at world-class universities and are also team doctors for area football teams. For specialized personal care of sports injuries, go to Coastal Ortho Express. Open Monday through Saturday in the iPark Building, 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or coastalorthoexpress.com. Coastal Orthopedics, keeping you on the move.
While the temperatures are cooling down, the fall bite is heating up. Albies, bonita, blackfish, alligator blues, and stripers are following the large schools of bait that are abundant in the Long Island Sound. If you love the New England coast during autumn, this is the time to be on the water. The latest from Shimano, Quantum, Avet, Hoagie, Phase 2, and more are in stock and ready to go at the dock shop. And don't mind those fall breezes with jackets, hats, gloves, and fleece from Grundens and Stormer. The dock shop will keep you warm and dry. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, now in 2 locations, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
Tired of all the bull? Relax and enjoy the experience of buying a car at Pamby Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram. No bull allowed.
Have no fear. HAN.Network's Fast Frights movie contest is here. Can your film make the cut? Submit your 3-minute scary movie today for a chance to win a DJI Phantom 3 drone. Sponsored by Milford Photo. The only thing to fear is missing the deadline.
We're back with The Drive, Denise DiGrigoli and Dr. Beverly Marr of Stanford Healthcare Associates.
That's it.
And we're going to talk about our posture. Really important. And small little things that people can do to kind of move that body forward. And through maybe these small instrumental changes, maybe it'll enlighten them. So let me stop talking and let you talk.
Okay, well, for the most part, a lot of people stand with their chest kind of collapsed.
Like this.
Like so. Not even exaggerated like that, but kind of like this.
Right.
And we have to retrain that posture. And posture is just any other habit that you have.
Right.
So for you, I'm going to show you how we can get your posture better. Although yours is pretty darn good, I have to say.
Well, friends, it's pretty good because I've worked with Dr. Bev before.
Okay, so really posture comes from about this part of your body. So the thoracolumbar junction. And what we can do here is lift up and hold up, and then relax your shoulders down, way down, even more. Really relax. Okay, now I'm going to take my hands away and you have to stand that way.
Okay.
Okay, there you go.
Did I do okay?
You did okay. So the best way to do it is to hold yourself.
Okay.
Lift up.
Lift up.
And then relax.
And relax.
And here we are. I want to say that we want to lift the chest up as well. Lead with your heart.
Lead with your heart.
So lead forward with your heart.
So when I first learned this method from you, it felt awkward.
Yes.
And I remember you saying you have to practice it every day. It's like part of your repertoire, kind of. And she said, like brushing your teeth.
Right.
Right? So I started practicing it every day. And of course, then I had my Achilles tendon surgery. But even so, in that downtime, which it was actually a godsend, a little bit of that downtime, I focused on that.
Right.
But as I've said a couple of times, I started cycling and skiing in the past 5 years. I was never athletic.
Right.
And I have one hip higher than the other due to a car accident when I was 18. And I've always had the proverbial lower back. When I get stressed, my top back goes out, which I'm sure many people have these kind of symptoms.
right.
So the next best trick Dr. Beverly taught me was the trick with pinching your buttocks together, even in the grocery store line, which Ava says I look like a weirdo.
Yeah.
But can you tell us about that? Because all jokes aside, it really helps. And tell us why it helps.
Yeah. Oftentimes we have a little bit more of a lumbar lordosis, and the more of a curve that you have in your back, the tighter it is on the nerves. So I suggest to my patients that they take their buttocks, and squeeze it together like they're holding a dime in there. Don't let the dime go. What that does is it creates a bit of a pelvic tilt.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm tilting.
And it flattens the back out and increases the area for the nerves.
And it's true. I stand in a ski line with clunky ski boots on, and I do this, and immediately my lower back pain goes away.
Right.
And I get to the top of the chairlift, and I feel like I can come down easier.
Right.
So any other little tips that we want to give people? Those are two little moves that you can make, and if I see you doing it in the grocery store, I will not judge. But are there any other little tips that we can give the general public to increase their posture, increase that oxygen, to hopefully improve just regular daily living?
I think that the other thing that we really want to do is make sure that the head is not really far forward. Okay,
Right.
texty, here we are. Okay, so we have to raise this up, and you want your jawline parallel to the floor.
Right.
Okay? Sometimes that requires us to bring our head back.
Yes. Okay.
All right, so instead of it being
Is that like an
out
exercise?
here, it is an exercise. You can do it actually in your car when you stopped at a light, and that is just press your head directly back into the headrest. That really creates muscle memory. You don't have to do that a lot because your body will pick up on that right up.
So you're trying to change the muscle memory, essentially.
Trying to change the muscle memory. Yeah.
Okay, well, this has been an incredible hour, and I hope everybody listening and watching has enjoyed it as much as I have. And Dr. Bev has a patented product with your husband.
Right.
Tell me what that's about
It's
real
called
quick.
Pure Posture.
Pure Posture.
It's a board actually with has some risers on it in which you lay on it, and it straightens out your spine.
So you kind of lay on these hand-carved pieces of risers that are strategically placed for your spine.
Exactly.
And it kind of just moves things
It
apart.
elongates the spine and takes the pressure off the nerves.
And kind of creates a different kind of muscle memory, if you will.
Exactly. So if your hips are off a bit, it will square your hips off. So when you get up off of it, it feels amazing. We have it patented. It really is not for sale yet.
Okay.
But it will be
I know we tried to scooch one out of you, but not yet.
No, after the first of the year. So we're really excited about this project. It's just, there's nothing like it on the marketplace, and my husband's really smart. So
well,
really
Troy
great.
and I had a sneak try of it, and it was excellent. And I'm going to give you a little plug, StanfordHealthcareAssociates.com.
Right.
Also thesoremethod.com.
Right.
But more so, what I want people to leave today with is not only great posture, but the motivation to know that no matter what's going on in your life, if you just kind of keep thinking forward, you can move it forward.
Right.
And Dr. Bev, you are an incredibly motivating person that has had so many transitions. And even though it seems like utter success every single moment, I know you've had your challenges. And the bottom line is you are now a fabulous ballroom dancer. What's on the next list of intentions?
Well,
where are we going next?
I'm not exactly positive about that. I mean, other than I've got a lot of competitions coming up. Our first one's going to international. It's going to be in Montreal. I mean, it requires a passport, so it is international. So I'm excited about that. And launching and getting Pure Posture off the ground. I'm super. It's such a nice project to do because it works.
Okay, so maybe you'll come back in the new year and show us that.
Absolutely.
And I thank you so much for coming in today. Guys, you'll see us now Tuesdays, 12:30 to 1:30 here on HAN Network. Rob, did I get it right? My friend Rob is back.
Outstanding work.
We did good this time, right?
You did excellent.
We had no faux pas.
No faux pas,
Okay.
no Hershams, no nothing.
All right,
You're the
fabulous.
best, Denise.
All right, guys, so HAN.Network. We'll see you next Tuesday, and you can watch us again on YouTube throughout, and hopefully you'll share this on your social media. Thanks,
bet.
Dr. Bev.
Oh, you
so
are
great to see you.
very
Okay,
welcome.
thanks, guys.
This is the HAN Network, the leader for local news, sports, arts, and entertainment in southwestern Connecticut and beyond.